Welcome back to session number 3, Strategies for Connecting Music to English Language Arts and to Science. And of course, in our Teacher Keys Effectiveness System, we are working with Performance Standard number 1, providing relevant learning experiences, as well as Performance Standard number 8, where students are self-directed learners and that learning is occurring at a high level. Our learning target today is to learn strategies for connecting music standards to English language arts and science standards. Of course, we know that our music standard, the domain connecting, is where we're pulling from in regards to music standards. But as we saw in our math example, not only do we use this connecting standard where we connect between music and other disciplines, we also choose a specific music standard in which we connect the academic content. Of course, sometimes we want students to write, not always, but sometimes we don't want to enhance or support that writing standard. And so here is the third grade writing standard. And again, I've just circled some uh, a specific part of each standard to help highlight how you can dig into each tier of the standard with your own instructional strategies. With guidance and support, we use a variety of tools, including digital and collaboration with peers to produce writing. So if you're going to have students summarize or recreate in some way, they can use digital tools, meaning that they can use a PowerPoint, Canva, Prezi, or any of those things, and they can do that in collaboration as they produce that writing. They can write informative expository text with facts and definitions. As you're going to see in the book that I show you in just a minute, you can pull facts from the main character's life to create something that's informative, whether it be a video presentation or a written presentation. The written portion, if they're going to do a video, then it's very advisable that they write their script. So their script would be their informative or expository text. And then finally, recall information from experiences and gather information from print, that's the books, digital sources, and take brief notes on them. I'm not going to highlight on the brief notes part, but whatever sources you provide for them in print for a book, or if you provide a supplementary video or movie, then they can call or recall and gather from those experiences. Of course, if you're implementing this standard, then you would want to have the students produce the notes. That's the actual written part. So if you use this standard, it is important that they take away some sort of writing. I know students don't always get excited about writing. However, sometimes when they're writing about a specific character or a specific event and they're working together, then sometimes that's a little bit more enjoyable and more engaging for those students. So here's a great example for second or third grade students. The number of books that you can read or that your students can read that can connect to music are there's just tons of them depending on what grade level you're on, which one class you're going to work with. You have to make sure that you might do your research to find a book that is going to be engaging for your students and at their appropriate reading level. Of course, we know that all students in classes don't all read at the same level. They have different lexile scores, so you might have to dig in a little bit to make sure you're choosing the right book for your students. This is a book that I've used with second graders numerous times. Excuse me, not numerous, 2 times. It's called Little Melba and Her Big Trombone. And of course, this book is about Melba, and of course, Melba Liston. It took me a minute to draw her last name. Famous trombone player. And using this story, you would decide how the students would read the story to gather the information. You're going to read aloud to them? Are they going to take turns reading aloud? Maybe they're going to read in pairs. It's certainly a book that you can read within 1 or 2 sittings. You have to determine 1 or 2 sittings, 1 or 2 sessions. You all have to determine based on the length of your book how long you're going to give the students to read and complete and digest that information. Student group the students in pairs, and this is post reading the book, talking about it, whatever questions you want to make sure students have a good grasp of the story. And the students can create a rhythmic poem to retell the story and or to describe the trombone or the brass family. So this is a great activity for second or third grade students. They can work in pairs. If you needed them to work in threes, they probably could do that. This would extend over two, probably 3 lessons or 3 class sessions. The first session and maybe into the second session would be the actual reading of the book, depending on how fast that goes, questions that are going to allow you to make sure the students understand the story that they've heard or that they've read. And then the next session would be the grouping in pairs and students creating a short rhythmic poem. I would give them guidelines depending on the grade level. Maybe you want it to be 4 lines, maybe you want it to be 8. Be specific with that so students have their goal. And you want to give students a chance to share their product with your class. So I would consider that at least 3, maybe 4 sessions to get through each one of those steps, provide feedback, and really take in the story of Melba Liston and her big trombone. This is a great activity for you. Students get very engaged. It's a great story and not only encourages students to keep trying at something, but it also encourages them to think about if they would like to play a musical instrument later on in their musical career. Now let's talk connect music to science. One of my favorite activities and lessons for students in elementary school. We connect the science standards from first grade and fourth grade to our music standard. I kind of put my information in here backwards, but if you'll jump down to the bottom of the slide, it says first science. And the standard says plan and carry out an investigation utilizing everyday objects to produce sound and predict the effects of changing the strength or speed of vibrations. There's a lot of ways to do this. You can do this with tightening and loosening of a string. You can do it with a rubber band, not the best maybe for first grade, but how would they use different objects and how would they manipulate those sounds in regards to the strength and the speed of vibrations? So this is a simple connection for first grade students. Vibrations of a string, taking a container and putting beads in it is a great example of connecting that. So this would be something, of course, that we're talking about with instruments, although producing a sound with your voice is another great way to talk to students about vibrations. With fourth grade, the science standard is construct an explanation supported by evidence that vibrating materials can make sound and that sound can make materials vibrate. And so this is a great way to connect. Obviously, vibrations happen when you play any instrument. So supporting how that happens, boom whackers, hand drums, triangles, all of those are great exploratory ways. So as you create for maybe the students a center where they're discovering how those sounds are made. Fourth graders might know a little bit more about the more elementary instruments, but maybe challenge them with some of the more advanced instrument, like how would a clarinet make a sound or how does a trumpet make a sound? It's a great time for recall for them if you've already taught those ideas when you've taught instrument families. It's also a great time for discovery if they don't have a really, really good grasp of those concepts. And of course, how are we connecting this to music? We're going to discuss how sounds and music are used in our daily lives. That's going to be our fourth grade standard. And of course, how those sounds are made. All of those tie in together for fourth grade science. The main theme for first and fourth grade is vibrations, and fourth grade is sound waves. They study light and sound waves at the same time. So the more you talk about vibrations and sound waves and what those sound waves are like, then the more you'll be able to connect to that standard in a rigorous way. So I've gathered just about three resources for you here, some websites that have several different activities. Could take time to go through several of them. It would take a long time, but you know more what you're looking for, what you have resources for, and these are going to give you a lot of great ideas. Um, so connecting the music and first grade science standard. There's more than just first grade, but this is a great way to do it. The Groovy Lab in a Box.com has some great activities, as does education.com and teamcartwright.com, and that's /science sound activities. And those reinforce the properties of sound waves. The in education.com, where I've mentioned, you'd want to search under third grade science, but those are going to cover the fourth grade standards. And then some great activities for simple instruments and simple understanding of vibrations for first graders. That's the Groovy Lab in a Box.com. Those are free resources to you that are going to help you connect music to science. So the next two videos are excellent ways for you to connect sound in a very engaging way for your students. Takes a little bit of extra planning. One of them is kind of easy to plan for. The other is a little bit more intense. So I'll share both of those with you. The first one is a candy sound wave that helps those fourth grade students and the first grade students understand how sound waves are made. Although I will tell you, the fourth grade students can do a great job of creating their own candy sound wave with the materials you give them. But for first grade, I would do demonstration only, where I created this candy sound wave myself and then allowed them to let the sound wave travel, if you will. So as you prepare for and look at both of these and think about them, that's how I'd use the sound waves. The second one is a speaker sound vibrations based off of hertz and how it manipulates water as it travels through the air. So it's something that you would set up on your own and that you would make a video of yourself, probably for teachers that have some audio skills and maybe some speaker equipment. It would be easy for you to set up, probably not at school, but at home. Take a look at both of these. I think they'll be fun and engaging for you and your students. Here's our sound and light travels in waves demonstration. Here is our water and sound experiment. Hopefully the ideas that I've shared about math and English language arts and science connecting to music standards have been great for you. If you're doing them already, then hopefully I've encouraged you to extend what you're doing. And that hopefully the strategies and the websites we provided are great resources for you. Don't forget to join us for webinar number 8, School-Wide Music Events. And as always, join us in the discussion and share your wonderful ideas with you. I'll see you in our next webinar.